Alrighty guys, we're back for Gruul Haste, and this is a Duskmourn standard brew, and I'm Red Cat. Let's briefly go over the deck, then hop right into some ranked. So all of our creatures in here have haste. Cool stuff. We got 4 Gingerbrutes, nice. We got 4 Monastery Swiftspears, cool. We got 4 Slickshot Show-Offs, awesome. We got a couple of Ruby Daring Trackers as well. Here's one we don't get to see too often. It's a 2-mana, 1/2 Rock and Gruul colors up there. It's a legendary creature. And when it attacks while you control a creature with power 4 or greater, it gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Nice. You can also tap this for a red or a green mana. Not a bad creature at all. Then we have 4 Wildfire Wickerfolk. This is a 2-mana 3/2 with haste and delirium. Oh, also, it's an artifact creature, which is kind of important when you have delirium on your cards. It gets +1/+1 and has trample as long as there are 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyard. So we're not like heavily leaning towards the delirium side of things, but we do have a lot of different card types packed in because you never know when that delirium is actually going to come into play. And we got a couple, a Samut, a Vizier of a Naktamun, something like that. I think I pronounced this right in the past, so maybe I landed on it again. We got a 3-mana T3 legendary creature. First strike, vigilance, haste. Nice. Now, whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, if that creature entered this turn, draw a card. Beautiful stuff. Speaking of beautiful stuff, we got all 4 Screaming Nemesis. This has really been doing the thing for me, so I think it's going to do the thing again in this build as well. 3-mana 3/3 with haste. When it's dealt damage, it deals that much damage to any other target. If a player is dealt damage this way, they can't gain life for the rest of the game. So this is a very hard creature for the opponents to block or deal damage to in general, right? So we got a couple Witchstalker Frenzies here on the top end for some removal. I think more often than not, it's going to be like 2 mana, and then there's going to be plenty of moments too where we actually get it down to 1 mana. We have another 1-mana removal spell, all for hard-hitting questions. 1-mana sorcery. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker you don't control. I think that'll be a significant chunk of damage when we have cards with prowess, and Slickshot Show-Off gets a huge boost very fast. Speaking of boosts, we have ways to boost our hasty creatures. All 4 Monstrous Rage is making the cut. Giving trample is going to be huge. Then we also have all 4 Demonic Ruckus too. Menace and trample is also pretty darn huge, but then also there's going to be so many turn 1s where you're very happy to plot up a Demonic Ruckus. Okay, the mana base. Heavily leaning towards the mountains because that's what the deck is leaning towards. And then also we have all 4 of the brand spanking new Thornspire Verges, as well as some fast land with the Copperline Gorge. Hopefully that's all the dual lands we need. I guess we could consider the pain lands, right? Maybe the pain lands should have made the honorable mentions. Speaking of honorable mentions, we only got a couple of them today. I did consider the turn Inside Out, especially when the Manifest Dread could help us with the delirium on the Wildfire, but yeah, again, I'm not too worried about the delirium. We're just looking at this as a value creature, and then every now and then you'll get that delirium bonus, you know? I also considered the Emberheart Challenger, a very powerful hasty creature. Honestly, we probably could have filled this entire honorable mentions with very powerful hasty creatures, but yeah, just the Challenger this time around. Okay, guys, I do my dandiest to save the more in-depth discussion for the end of the video, so look forward to that. In the meantime, let's go ahead, take this into some ranked, and see how we do. All right, right into that first game. What am I expecting from the build? A little bit, bro. I think it's going to be pretty good. There's not a significant amount of cards draw packed in, but I'm not really too worried about it. Yeah, we got so many powerful cards packed in. Yeah, we keep this. I was trying to find a reason that I didn't like, where I didn't like the hand, but no, I actually just really like it. I'm going to show a little bit of patience here with plot rather than just going right into Swiftspear and swinging. Okay, Brushland. Second Swiftspear is pretty good. Patience with plot. Yes. Based on Selesnya colors, I'm going to just continue to show a little bit of patience with the plots. Demolition Field. It's got to be some spot removal, right? Screaming Nemesis is decent. Let's go Slickshot Show-Off. Swiftspear. Gingerbrute not doing too much here because we want to utilize the prowess abilities on all of these. Show-Off already has a huge target on his back, so the Ruckus goes on to one of the Swiftspears, which is the one that gets picked up, of course, right? But we'll see, we'll see. Totally worthwhile for some extra damage. Holy cow, it lands. Still got to be spot removal, right? Maybe they want to spot remove the Show-Off, which is why we didn't put the Ruckus on the Show-Off. Bird migration, man. I don't know what I was expecting. I was just like fully thinking that it was going to be spot removal. But 3 life is still pretty darn good, especially if it's a temporary lockdown turn because they grabbed a plains. Oh, split up. I hope we draw something good on the Ruckus. Oh, a Ruckus. Okay. Okay, I'm down for the Gingerbrute play with the Ruckus, right? With the plot on the Ruckus. Gingerbrute, plot you up. Just doing it now since the opponent's tapped out. Just getting it out of the way. The Witchstalker Frenzy is a pretty bad draw since we're trying to go super duper fast here. Beza, they go back up to 16. Guys, they've gained 7 life so far, which is just terrible news for us when we had the Nemesis in hand. Nemesis was in hand and ready to go. We do find our 3rd mana, which is great news, but how do we how do we do this? Is it just Nemesis because it's terrifying to block anyways? We don't want to put Ruckus on Nemesis, although it's extra damage getting through. The problem is we'd rather them actually block there. So Ruckus on Gingerbrute? The reason we'd rather them actually block is because Sunfall is probably in a build like this, pretty much no matter what. So we might just like cheese this 5 through. Down to 11, yeah. Since Nemesis is such a problem, and it looks like they have a lot of life gain packed in. Oh no, split up, guys. That's really, really brutal. Hey, another Nemesis is huge, though. Ruby. We want to get a couple creatures down. We could go Ruby into the Wildfire. It's probably just Nemesis again, though, unfortunately, right? All the hasted things. Getting them down to 8. It doesn't look like they found their 5th mana yet. But 110% Sunfall style build. Oh, Overlord probably coming down if they... Yeah, Overlord of the Huntwoods. Nice. They now have Domain if they have Leyline that exiles the Nemesis. They got around these Nemesis really easy. They're going to keep this Beza back as a blocker. They know we have a way too many hasty creatures packed in. So we're struggling to get this Witchstalker Frenzy down to an appropriate level to deal with the Beza. Because the opponent is picking up everything. 3 for 1 early on, then a 2 for 1, and then the Leyline picked up the other Nemesis. That's a lot of removal to deal with. If we go, we could try to get multiple things down, save Gingerbrute as a surprise next turn. So like Ruby and Wildfire and just wait. And I hope that's okay, because Witchstalker Frenzy does pick up the Beza, but dude, we're in a lot of trouble. Another Overlord could come down as a 6/5. Now which one do we pick up, you know? I'll tell you what, a 3rd Nemesis would be pretty huge. Oh my goodness, they play Overlord of the Mistmoors. Getting a bunch of chump blockers on the board is terrible. They're not even chump blockers, they're full blocks. We don't have an instant in the grave yet, so that'll be decent once we get the Witchstalker Frenzy in. We can go Gingerbrute. And we can go... Oh, you know what? You know what, guys? I missed that. That's okay, that's okay. because we're probably going to keep the ruby back. None of them have haste. A trade into 2 of the insects wouldn't be bad, I guess. 2 insects off the board. This is going to be like a turn. Let's see what they end up doing, because if it's just 1 insect, they don't know that an instant is about to hit the grave. Okay, so they keep both insects back, and we actually get to keep the wildfire alive. They still have an everywhere open. It could be like another leyline binding, but... so trample gets through. That's pretty good, man. It is another leyline binding. Dude, the opponent finding a lot here. Oh, man. Getting that delirium game 1's pretty good. Yeah. I don't know if we're going to find a way around this without boosting our Gingerbrute 2 turns in a row, and then somehow it needs to survive. And then somehow the opponent needs to not gain any more life, because now they're ready for Beza number 2. Ah, it is Beza number 2. Crap, dude. Back up to 10. Luckily, they don't get a 1-1 here. They don't draw, but that life gain is so good. Actually, they've gained 10 life so far this game, I think. They're going to get their overlord soon. It's a forest. No. Gingerbrute. Go, 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 go. Swing. 9 more turns, Gingerbrute. We can do this. We can survive. Oh, no. No, I think this is heavily leaning towards the opponent, guys. But we're going to play it out just because... I think it's going to be really easy for the opponent to actually find the damage. They get the Overlord here at the end. Oh, nice. We get to thin the deck list. Take that action. Grab a mountain. Thinning the deck list is huge here. That's funny, though. This is kind of a silly game. I feel like the opponent really just had everything they needed to deal with us, and hopefully that doesn't happen in like every single match. Still going to keep the Beza back, playing it safe. Makes a lot of sense. But they're getting the Overlord anyways. The green Overlord's becoming a creature. It's a forest! No! That's brutal, man. Oh, wait, how much mana do I have in here? We might need to talk about that, but more testing required first. Especially since at the beginning we were waiting for our 3rd for the Screaming Nemesis, right? But I don't think that's something we want to consider yet. Up the beanstalk. Since we're probably going to die in the next couple turns of swings, I don't... Like, if we had 2 turns of boosting Gingerbrute, I guess that would be... Like, there's a very small possibility of actually getting there, so sticking around makes a little bit of sense. But guys, make sure you always take a look at the bottom of the video. We have chapters and then timestamps in the description as well if you ever want to just skip ahead to the next match. I tend to like sticking around and seeing what happens. I'm not even going to jump. We'll just take the 10. See if the opponent can close it up next turn. Or maybe like... Yeah, they get their other Overlord. They're going to have even more insects in the air next turn, too. It's a mountain. Wow. So, like, sticking it out, like, that's one of the things we get to actually see how much we flooded here, which is actually just a great test, because there's a possibility that we get to the end of this video saying that we need to drop some mana. They go ahead, they drop a Get Lost on the Ruby. And we'll drop them a GG's. We also could have kept Gingerbrute as a blocker. Chumped one of the Overlords, then popped it for food. That's a possibility too, but let's be realistic here, right? Like, this is the opponents for sure. Drop them the GG. I'd love to see the top card again. Just see how many cards deep until we don't see mana. Sometimes we get to the end of a match and I'm like, man, that could have gone either way. I don't know about that one, dude. Holy cow. That was a lot of very precise removal for what we were trying to do there. So We would have needed to really pop off at the beginning. Maybe an earlier Nemesis, like right on 3 or something. Let's keep the ball rolling. I have high hopes for this deck list, so I'm hoping we don't run into too much of the, like, just incredibly precise removal. But not only removal, guys, like, the opponent gained so much life in that game, too. Okay. I'm kind of like, I might be overthinking these hands, but this is good, right? This is pretty good. Just start with the Swiftspear and be happy about it over the Gingerbrute, I would say. Depending on who went first, right? Like, there's a possibility. If they went first and they dropped a swamp, then it might have been Gingerbrute over Swiftspear. Because Gingerbrute's an artifact creature. With no ways in hand to boost the show-off or the prowess on the Swiftspear, we're just going to run down the show-off instead of going for the plot. Gonna go for it. That's something that we did in the last game, right? I showed a lot of patience at the beginning with plots. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. Oh, buddy. Okay. All right. Well, the first strike on this is pretty darn good. Double block into Swiftspear is terrible, but we will get a draw on the Vizier, which is probably better than the Nemesis for the turn. If they do double block Swiftspear, that's like pretty good. We take out the Scavenger before they start dumping a bunch of counters on it. Nice. Mana off the top isn't terrible. Fabled Passage, grab a Plains. I grab a Plains. Yeah, Boros Auras. Gonna be Manifold Mouse for the turn. Double strike to the hero. I don't think we block it. I think we want to keep... I think we take the 4. It's not a good trade, I don't think. Oh, man, I don't know, though. I really don't. Ooh. We can't play both Wildfires, guys. So Nemesis, Gingerbrute. Gingerbrute's just going to be like a emergency chump blocker for next turn, probably. We swing wide here. They take out Gingerbrute with the mouse. Scavenger. The chump block that's not happening. A double block into Swiftspear. Yeah, we keep the Gingerbrute as a blocker. Some tough decisions, man. But the opponent is getting low. See, they don't know what's in hand. This could easily be like a Monstrous Rage, which we have all 4 of them in here, so... They say, I call your bluff, we'll block the Swiftspear, and it ends up working out really nicely for the opponent. More mana, and we take the turn to play the Gingerbrute. Even though we have a lot of mana, we could surprise him next turn. We still want that emergency chump blocker. Still got 3 mana in hand. Holy cow, dude, this could be terrible if they drop like a Protected by Ghosts. What? Wait, Sheltered by Ghosts, that's what it's called. That'd be devastating. They pick up the Samut and then dump a whole bunch of... Still going to be a whole bunch of counters. If their last red mana gives Trample, then we're in danger, bro. They go double strike. Although, I think if they had Trample, they would have put the Ethereal Armor onto the Heartfire hero. They're going to go double strike onto the mouse. We're at 15. They have a whole bunch of chump blockers on the ground. They go, this says first strike. So, with all those chump blockers, they're at 7. We take 11. Or we might die. We very well might die. Let's do it. Let's risk it. No blocks. Let's do it. All right, we're alive. Well, maybe they could go, okay, it wasn't like a Calicel sword. Demonic Ruckus is not bad. Would have loved an extra green source on the board to drop both of the wildfires, though. But no, Ruckus is actually equally as good here, right? So if we go Mountain, Wildfire, Demonic Ruckus to give Menace to anything here, right? I guess Menace to this is totally fine. We don't know what's left in hand, so we gotta just completely play it out, guys. We really do. Full swing. Math is for blocker's turn for sure. Gingerbrute gets through with 1. That's going to get through for 1. The Nemesis is. We got 3 in the air. And 3 on the ground. So playing this out was super essential because if they had their last mountain could be anything. It really could be. We technically don't know what's in the opponent's build. It could be a shock for the show-off or something. There we go. Very nice. We didn't even need the 1 from the Nemesis there, too. Beautiful stuff, man. The Ruckus was kind of, I don't want to say essential, but it was very important, right? Having another creature gain a way through with Menace and Trample. Now, was putting the Ruckus on the Samut or Samut, or however we pronounce it, was putting it here, was that the best thing to do? Because if we would have targeted the show-off, again, just not knowing what's in the opponent's hand, they could have, like, instant speed, shocked it. That would have been brutal. So putting it on the 2-3 made a lot of sense so they couldn't shock that. It wouldn't have made sense on the Swiftspear then, too. Same reason. Cool. Again, a lot of mana that game, but it all came into play in that last turn. We used all 5 sources. Oh, I clicked through it. I wanted to see what card it was. It was probably... It probably wasn't anything important, but I accidentally double-clicked. All right, guys, let's keep the ball rolling. Roll it into some more victories. What you bringing to the table, opponent? A bunch of mana. What the crap? Dude, maybe mid-video revamp, right? Let's take a look at the mana base, see how much mana I have in here. I feel like it's not much, though. I guess I'm not 100% certain. Opponent goes first. This could be a really, really, really bad hand. I'm very tempted to keep it, though. I'm going to. See what happens. Okay. You could easily see some of our 1-drops, right? We have 8 hasty 1-drop creatures packed in. That would be great to see. That's not terrible either. I'll take that. Guys, hey, while I have you here in the middle of the video, make sure you check out that description. One second. The game's being rude and interrupting me. How dare. Let's see if the first wildfire lands. They're thinking about it. With Delirium, it's a little bit sketchy putting an artifact creature into the grave because now you're 2 steps closer to Delirium. Opponent, I'm on the edge of my seat. Well, anyways, guys. Oh, okay. It's going to be no more lines, which exiles it. Crap. Oh, that was perfect for the opponent. Well, I guess we could go... I mean, what do we want to see? What do we... Alright, we try the Samut. 1 No More Lies is out of the opponent's deck. We go Samut first, because next turn we could drop some hasty creatures if it lands. Outside of that, if it's just like spot removal, I don't know. I guess it's still worth it. Nice. Card draw, huge for us. The opponent's playing too fast for me to talk about our description, guys. Demolition Field, definitely grab a forest here. Well... yeah, we got triple mountains with another mountain in hand, so we can easily grab the forest and be happy about it. Guys, that description has our Discord link, as well as a Patreon link, too, if you're interested in supporting the channel that way. And then also all the other YouTube nonsense is something I usually bring up when I talk about in that description. So if you like the video, make sure you actually drop it a like. And if you enjoy the channel, then consider subscribing as well, because it really does help out the channel. So thank you, thank you. There we go. I actually got all that nonsense out of the way, huh? So they have Esper colors over there. We'll save that other forest for now. Nemesis is so darn good. That is such a good draw, but we probably just need to dump other creatures on the board instead. And save Nemesis as a surprise, because they got 4 mana open, guys. If we do pay the 2, I'm gonna decline. I don't want them to surveil 2. Surveilling 2 is actually really good, first of all, but when we have Swiftspear and Monstrous Rage available in hand as well, I'll go for it. Monstrous Rage on the Swiftspear. Looks like it's going through. We get a draw on the Swiftspear thanks to the Vizier of Naktamun. It's a really cool name. I really do wish I knew how to pronounce it better. So, I apologize, guys. Let me know in the comments how we actually pronounce that. I've been told in the past multiple times. I just, I forget. We don't actually, we don't play with it often, and we don't see it, like, ever, too, so I guess that's an excuse. I sense spot removal. Spot removal incoming. Although I guess we just don't know what we're up against. Esper Reanimator? Oh, Overlord. Get a couple 2-1s. Demonic Ruckus number 2 is amazing? Well, first of all, Screaming Nemesis. And then Demonic Ruckus onto Swiftspear, right? We'll see if they let this Nemesis through. If they don't, we draw again on the Samut. Outside of that, putting all our eggs onto the Swiftspear basket seems totally fine, since our other creatures just should have huge targets on their back already. Since we don't know what we're up against, we don't know if, like, the life gain side of the Nemesis is actually going to come into play. So that has first strike, so even... Okay, so that has menace. Okay. This is, like, we really put the opponent between a rock and a hard place here. Going down to 4. Card draw. Witchstalker Frenzy. I'm actually a little concerned about our hand, because a board wipe would be devastating. Hopefully Ruckus draws us into a creature then. And then any creature works, because they all have haste. Where is the opponent's board wipe? Oh, there it is, but luckily we had Vigilance. So it could still be spot removal. Uh-oh, it's a land. Need some creatures. There's our creature. All right. Mountain. I cannot believe how much land we've been playing in every game. Oh, crap, guys. Watch out for auto-tapper when you only got basics on the board, huh? Now we won't have the, Well, we'll go on to the Slickshot Show-Off here with the Menace. If they pop that, then we have Trample with the Rage onto the Vizier. But anyways, if I would have tapped the Forest for the Show-Off, we would have had Witchstalker Frenzy open too. They do drop the GGs. Good game, opponent. Guys, I should probably take a look at the deck list to see how much mana there is. Funny enough, we're like using all the mana when we see it, but at the same time, I feel like we're seeing a lot. So yeah, let's go take a look real quick here. Haste to Gruul. 22 mana. Is that too much? That might be too much. We're doing a lot every single turn. All right, we're going to keep the 22. We're going to keep going a couple more games, more testing required on the mana, but I think in the final thoughts, guys, we're going to be potentially dropping it down to 21. Because this 22 mana has felt like 25, and I don't think that's something we necessarily want in a build like this, so Dropping some mana, going up some cards that just help you see more off the top could be really good. Opponent goes first. I can't find anything wrong with double Slickshot Show-Off in hand. And a Monstrous Rage, too. Hello, buddy. Mana off the top means plot on the first Show-Off. That's what I'm feeling. Not seeing mana, we'll probably just risk it. Oh, Toadstool Admirer with the Feather of Flight. Cool. Yeah, the Ward 2 is actually a lot to get around there. It wasn't mana off the top, so we're not going to plot the Show-Off. We're just going to run right into it here. And swing for 2. Very much a Sheltered by Ghost style deck list, which is actually super brutal for what we're running, so... we'll see what the opponent pulls off here. Calyx is probably a problem. They decide that they can outpace us. Mana off the top would be great. And this is right after I got done saying, like, we're going to keep the 22 for now, right? All right, it's mana. We got a problem with the trade into the Calyx, though, but that's totally fine. Oh, maybe it should just be Screaming Nemesis for the turn. Nah. Show off. Swing for 3. Oh. Witchstalker Frenzy will be down to 1, which is great news. So instead of the Monstrous Rage will be a great surprise another time. But using these Witchstalker Frenzies while we can to get rid of a very important creature is great news. Bringing the opponent down to 9. The best way to pull it back is some lifelink. Calyx, they're going to be doing the same turn, which means we might be doing the same turn. Down to 11. Except now that our slick shots are established, we'll have Monstrous Rage as well. Or if we see mana, it'll be Nemesis, Swing, Frenzy the Calyx. Or is it better just to do Monstrous Rage? No, it's probably better just to go Nemesis. Because Monstrous Rage can always be a surprise next turn as well. Full swing. They got something, guys. Sheltered by Ghosts. Sheltered by Ghosts does get it above the Frenzy. At that point, we're looking at the Monstrous Rage to just push through on whatever they don't block here. Yeah. They got protection open for the Calyx. We just wait. See what this Monstrous Rage can do instead. And we'll plug it onto Swiftspear. Instead of protecting our Slickshot Show-Off, because we got 3, 3, 4. So 10 damage coming through. Unless they're one card, it's a royal treatment, so it was protection, but no way to gain life here. So I think we made the right calls all around. Instead of like the Witchstalker Frenzy and stuff, yeah, just having the Monstrous Rage was super important. Guys, the 22 mana felt perfect here because we wanted all this mana. We wanted to see 4-on-4 for this game, so... That's tough. That's actually a really tough decision because there are going to be games where that 22 feels like too much. So maybe 21 is still something to consider, but... I don't know what's holding up the opponent here. Running down the timer. I guess I could pause until the... Oh, there we go. Yep, should still be 10 getting through. Very nice. I'll tell you what, if they saw a Sheltered by Ghosts, that could have been a much different game, but our Nemesis was still going to be a problem for them, I think. A few things there, guys. A few things, too. If they did have a Sheltered by Ghosts, okay, and they did start getting some, or had the potential to start getting some life gain from that lifelink ability, then don't forget that Witchstalker Frenzy reads, Witchstalker Frenzy deals 5 damage to target creature. You do have a possibility of targeting your own Nemesis, dealing 5 damage to it, dealing 5 damage to the opponent's face, and then stopping the lifelink from actually going through. So that's kind of important. Actually, I kind of wish I would have done that just for fun, that game. Well, maybe another game, right? It's great getting Witchstalker Frenzy down to 1, kind of proving the point as to why we decided on that as our as an extra piece of removal. Guys, we're going to push it one more game. We're 34 minutes in. The games have been fast. Win or lose, I'm very satisfied with how the deck list has performed, but there's a card that I really need to see do the thing today, and that is our hard-hitting question. There it is. All right. Opponent goes first. Crap. This is not a great hand for a hard-hitting question, but we're going to keep it. Golgari. Red Source Gingerbrute. Yeah, when you got the hard-hitting question, you like your prowess creatures and stuff, but I really want to see this do something today, so... Beautiful. Couple turns of just doing whatever the heck we want. Alright, passing it back. Turn 3 Nemesis is pretty great. Overlord. I guess we don't know what we're up against. Golgari colors, but everywhere's on the table, so it could easily be Domain, which means exile removal for the Nemesis easily. Swinging for 5. I think next turn could be a Sunfall for the opponent too. Drop a Plains, and they'd be very happy about a Sunfall. But we gotta keep pushing, right? We can't just play around something that we don't know exists. It's a Plains! Everybody run! Run, Nemesis, get down! Hide! We're alive! Holy cow, dude. I want these hard-hitting questions to hit something, man. Come on. Let's go Samut and get that on the board. Let's see if we can draw off of this too. Witchstalker Frenzy down to a red mana. Again, like, we could consider hitting the Nemesis if this was going through. If they block, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If they block here, right? 5 gets through. We got 5 on the Witchstalker Frenzy. It's just like much better to hit the cottage, right? I think so. Because there's no guarantee where they end up blocking. We end up drawing a mountain, getting them down to 5. How do you guys feel about that? We had an option there with Frenzy and Nemesis. We could have let them block and then hit the Nemesis with the Frenzy, brought them down. But then we don't have too many creatures in hand. If we had more creatures in hand, I think that would have been an excellent play. Frenzy the Nemesis, 5 damage to the opponent's face. We got all that mana open, guys. Hard-hitting question being sorcery speed really is really a bummer right about now, right? But since the opponent hasn't played any creatures, Slickshot Show-Off works so well with hard-hitting question too. All right, guys. Full swing. I think the opponent's in a lot of danger. They need to pull something like really, really fancy off. If it's just going to be a cottage, I think we're fine and dandy. I don't even think we have to activate the Gingerbrute abilities. Yeah. GG opponent. Once you get the opponents too low, Nemesis becomes just an absolute menace. An absolute menace to the opponents because, like, look at their blocking. Look where they could block once they got down to 5 with each creature having haste in the deck list too. That's so cool because no matter what creature you see, you know you're going to be putting pressure on the opponent's face. The seeing Slickshot Show-Off, any hasty creature would have put the exact same amount of pressure on the opponent there. It didn't have to have flying in this certain scenario. Anyways, guys, their option, like, block the Samut, right? And then if they blocked the Nemesis, that was going to do 4 damage to their face, which would be ridiculous. They blocked the Gingerbrute, that's only 1 getting through. Same thing with the other Gingerbrute, couldn't block in the air, so their best block was right here, and then 6 damage was still getting through, which is absolutely insane. Another thing that could have happened was block here, and then they tap Restless Cottage for a cut down, and then cut down the Slickshot Show-Off. 5 damage gets through. Another thing, while we're going through all of it, right? It could have been 1 mana to gain some life. So something like the the mill card that gains 2, right? What is it called right now? It's called Seed of Hope. So they could have blocked our 2/3, dropped Seed of Hope. They would have went up to 7, then they would have taken 6. So that actually would have been survival, running right into like a Sunfall next turn. That could have pulled the opponent back easily. That being said, we don't really know what we're up against, so we don't know if it was a Seed of Hope style of build, but very possible. There's a good reason we always completely play it out at the end instead of just like being reckless with the final swings. Guys, here's the deck list again. I had a freaking blast, dude. Of course, we're playing like really powerful cards. Swiftspear, Slickshot Show-Off, Monstrous Rage. Like those 3 cards are always just going to be really powerful in the same list. So what works well with the prowess on the Swiftspear and the ability on the Show-Off? Well, Monstrous Rage, hard-hitting question, Demonic Ruckus, and of course, the Witchstalker Frenzy. So what is that? That's only 14 cards. More than enough, I would say, to give some awesome boosts to the Show-Off and the Swiftspear. Hard-hitting question, man. I really wanted this to do a thing today. Instant speed, something else would have just been a little bit better. But when we do have the Delirium, again, we're not focused on the Delirium side, but I just don't think it's going to be unheard of for that Delirium to come in handy in here. Do some more rearranging and see what I'm talking about. We got our artifacts with Gingerbrute and Wildfire. Then we have our creatures, of course, right? We have our enchantments. Whoops. We have our sorceries. And we have our instants. And of course we have our lands too, but no actual ways to get those lands into the grave in this deck list in particular, unless the opponent mills it into our grave. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and once a Wildfire or a Gingerbrute dies, that's actually 2 towards the Delirium already. If the opponent pops like something with the Ruckus, all it's going to take is dropping one of your instant speed things. But again, we're not worried about the Delirium, but if you were wondering how we get the Delirium, well, that's how. We have a lot of card types. If you want to be worried more about the Delirium, since we got 22, I wouldn't see, like, I could see a Fabled Passage. Fabled Passage is a great way to get a land into the grave for a Delirium on the Wildfire, but again, I don't know how necessary it's going to be. I'm not like 100% certain about the Ruby in this particular deck list. I guess we kind of just need more testing required, but I think it's still worth the 2 of, at the very least. I definitely wouldn't go up any. Wouldn't go up to 3 even. A big thing with the Ruby's ability in this deck list is boosting the Show-Off or the Swiftspear above the 4 is the main way to get that ability on Ruby to get this the +2/+2, which means you're going to have to do something before you swing, which is looking like the hard-hitting question. If you do just a hard-hitting question while the Ruby's on the board with the Slickshot Show-Off or something, it's still only a 3/2, so it's still not power 4 or greater. You'd still have to do something else, and that could be as easy as having Ruckus. When you plot it up on turn 1, boy, I'm arranging this deck list very awkwardly, huh? I think when I went over the deck list at the beginning of the video, I brought up that like plotting Ruckus on 1 is just really good, and you're going to do it very, very often. And that is a way, I guess, right? Ruckus on a Show-Off. That does get it to 4 since it gets the +1/+1 from the Ruckus too. And of course, like Monstrous Rage on the Show-Off too. But we were talking about the hard-hitting question. If hard-hitting question was Tail Swipe, I think Tail Swipe is actually going to make it so that way your creatures trade. You don't want to trade your creatures. You want to hit the opponent's creatures and then swing with your creatures. Tail Swipe does give that +1/+1. There's a possibility of it not trading, and then instant speed does in fact come in handy sometimes, but Tail Swipe also doesn't hit planeswalkers too. So, woo, so much to talk about here, man. Also, if you take out your sorceries, that's 1 less card type for the Wildfire Wickerfolk. Ruby? Could probably go down to 1 even. I'm just not like 100% certain about this right now. It is a great way to dump extra cards onto the table, and it's great mana fixing too. Hold up, yeah, no, I'm keeping the Ruby as a 2 of. I'm being too hard on Ruby because there's so much you could do that's just like kind of insane. You could go turn 1, one of your hasty 1-drop, Swiftspear, Gingerbrute, whatever. Turn 2, Ruby, tap Ruby, plot up Demonic Ruckus. Turn 3 is looking just absolutely disgusting for the opponent. Like literally everything in our hand would be incredible on that. Like if you're curving out like that on your turn 3, it's just looking super gross for the opponent. Yeah, literally everything, because you're putting Ruckus onto one of your 2 creatures or dropping another creature like a Show-Off to put the Ruckus on for free, right? And then you could still have incredible cards like Witchstalker Frenzy open. Witchstalker Frenzy as a 2-of makes so much sense in here, man. Deals 5 damage to target creature. I'm still looking at that Nemesis. I think there are going to be plenty of moments where you actually just want to deal 5 to the Nemesis. There might be moments where you could catch the opponent off guard, where Nemesis is so hard to block, and then you get 3 through because they don't want to block it, and then you drop the Frenzy on the Nemesis anyways, and that's 8 total damage for just the 1 mana. Or, since Nemesis has haste, I guess if you got 4 mana on the board, it could be all in 1 turn as well. The deck list felt pretty decent, man. And it's kind of like I said, we just got so many good cards packed in. And the Wildfire is also, like I said, we're not worried about the Delirium, but this is also just kind of a value creature. 2 mana 3/2 with haste is no joke. An artifact creature is also no joke because Go for the Throat is still played. It's still like one of the most played spot removals, right? So Go for the Throat not being able to hit Wildfire or the Gingerbrute just happens to be so good. Gingerbrute being in here for a hasty artifact creature makes a lot of sense, but then also being able to be that top ability, Gingerbrute can't be blocked this turn except by creatures with haste. It has won me so many games, it's just not even funny, dude. And then also you have ways to boost the Gingerbrute to get through, like Monstrous Rage and the Demonic Ruckus too. But mostly, I guess, it's not even in here for that reason. It's really just in here for a value hasty 1-drop, which there's probably other value hasty 1-drops that you could consider over Gingerbrute, but again, it's in here for an artifact creature. Guys, are we... Is that it? Are we done? I'll tell you what, Samut was pretty good today. First Strike Vigilance Haste is really good. I don't think we want 3 of them, though. I don't know. I think it'll kind of clog up the hand sometimes if you put 3 of them in. I think 2's right where we want it. I am very much considering Fable Passage, though. Fable Passage as a 2-of. Oh, how does one find Fable Passage without typing it in? There we go. How do we feel about Fable Passage as a 2-of and dropping a couple forests? The deck is heavily leaning towards red. How often is this Fable Passage going to slow us down at the beginning? Because as you can see, we're opting just for fast lands. Is it worth the Fable Passage just for the sake of having an extra way to get the Delirium on the Wildfire? No, I don't think it is, because you got to go so fast. That's tough, though. That's really, really tough. Something to consider for sure. More testing, maybe, for sure. Maybe we want all 4 Fable Passage. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we want to lean it just a little bit Delirium, and maybe that would be actually really good for the deck list too. So much to talk about here, guys. Let me know in the comments, what would you add or take out? Do you agree with my final decision here to just not change anything? Because yeah, there's a lot to consider, and like Tail Swipe over Hard Hitting Question, for example, or Fable Passage in the mana base. How many rubies are in here? How many Samuts are in here, right? There's a lot to consider. Guys, either way, if you made it this far into the video for real, y'all are champions. I super duper appreciate you, and I will see you in the next video.